to welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and my call is almost done. Of course, my sister's visit is almost done too. So, although it wasn't too bad when they came, it was starting to go away. So, and as long as I didn't sneeze or cough on them, then I think I was okay. I don't think I'm gonna get them sick or anything. Of course, if my mom and my sister talk on the phone and we find out that they are sick, then one of them has a cold, then we know who's to blame. I thought I would do a quick update video, and I got a book haul for you. I got some books to show you guys that I purchased, and I'm hoping to get another one, possibly two. But we will see. Because I still tried to stick to my budget, and last month I kind of went over my budget, and I had to lower the number this month to make sure I didn't go over my budget. But it's very hard because I feel very inspired to buy a certain edition of a certain classic, and I will explain what that is in a little bit. First, let's update you on my reading. So I don't remember at the moment what I finished. I'm trying to think of when I just recently finished. But I did start reading The Leopard. And I decided to finally pick this one up because one of the podcasts that I listen to, it's a book club podcast. They are also the same people who work on the podcast of The Rest is History. They at some point they did an episode on The Leopard for this first season, so I wanted to read the book first before I listened to that episode. And I have been meaning to read it, so I find that was my motivation to pick it up. And although I'm not entirely focused on it because with people, I've been going to bed late, so I'm tired, and then of course because I actually took some medication last night, not for my cold, but during my morning walk, I got stung. And it's all swollen. Because I'm not allergic, but I get really bad reactions. So, I am now, the back of my knee area is all swollen up. So I can't even look at it. A couple years ago when I got stung by a wasp on my knee area. So I could actually see how swollen it is. But now... But because of where this is in the back of my knee, so it's kind of an awkward place where I can't actually look at it, but I can feel it, and it's itchy, and whenever I touch it, it's hard there. It's all Velcro-y on that part of my knee, all Brillo-y. So I want to scratch it, but then I'm afraid to touch it. And so my mom, who's a nurse, she gave me or a former nurse, she gave me some new medicine to take. She's not the one that, medicine that the doctor gave me last time I got stung, which we ended up not taking because by then I think it was starting to go away or something. So we took it last time, and I'm good, it definitely helped. But now I'm all tired, residual tiredness right now. And then, of course, I'm going to bed late because, I want to spend time, we want, the kids go to bed early, and then I get some adult time with all of us adults, watch TV. But then I kind of fell asleep, I was so tired last night, and, so I've been tired, and then, when I'm tired, it's hard for me to concentrate. I can read a little bit. And then with the kids, they make they're always laughing at, little kids they making a lot of noise. So it was kind of hard. And we don't have, a basement or anything for them to go, or, they can go outside, but, and so I've been kind of, like I said, I've been tired, and it's just hard for me to concentrate. And, so some of the stuff in the book I'm not taking in. But so far what I gather is it's set in 1860s, and we're dealing with this nobleman, this prince and he is very dissatisfied with his heir, who is his son, because he's kind of a boring kid, young man, but he really likes his nephew and prefers him over his own son. And because his nephew is charming and charismatic, he's very sociable, he's more likable, but he's a little too charming for his own good, probably. And they're trying to find him a wife, and they tried to arrange him to marry this girl, Angelica, who, back when she was a young girl, she wasn't as attractive, but now all of a sudden he sees her, she's really beautiful, she's grown into her looks, and he's really interested, but she's kind of standoffish. And that's what I got so far. The writing is great. I mean, it provides really beautiful descriptions of the villas and in the history of Italy at the time. But like I said, I'm not entirely focused on this book, because even when the kids aren't here, because they're doing this camp thing during that, like, that's part of why they came to visit, because there's this camp going on that I'm still like, I'm trying to just, and then the rest of my family might want to watch TV and stuff like that, so it's like, it's very hard to concentrate, and like I said, I'm tired, so, but anyway, so far, it's, very intriguing, very interesting story, and I'm gonna, look forward to listening to what the podcasts say on this book, after I read it and stuff and see what they think. Okay, so that is The Leopard and this was the only book that the author wrote. The author, Giuseppe de Lampedusa, had died before he got to see, I think it was before he got, like, it was published, but I think he never really knew, I don't think he ever got the chance to see if it was popular or liked by people, and he didn't get to write another book because he died not too long after he published this. So I think that's really interesting. And then the other book I started, Euphoria by Lily King, and I actually almost bought the other Lily King book that my independent bookstore had, because my used bookstore does not have these. But there was another book that I was inspired to purchase at the time, so I ended up getting that one instead of the Lily King, the other Lily King book they have, so next time I go, maybe I'll get it, which hopefully will be in, like, either later this month, or maybe in September, but I still got time, because, like I said, I'm trying to read her books before I go to the literary festival that I want to go to. But anyway, this is set in the 1930s, and it's about a husband, and it starts with a husband and wife, and another friend of theirs, and the husband and wife, their marriage isn't that great. Like, the wife is, the husband is kind of bossy and kind of controlling, not in an abusive way, but just, it's, doing, whatever he wants to do. And the wife is a little more of a free spirit. And we're getting a little background on the husband and his history, and how everyone the father wanted them to do. We get a little background on his life. There were 4 boys, and, the dad wanted them to be scientists because that has value in society, but neither one of the boys wanted to be like their father, wanted to be like scientists and stuff. And the one son, he is an anthropologist, which is a scientist, but the mom didn't, like, after the dad died, the mom kind of took the mantle of what the father expected of them, and she doesn't see any value in anthropology. Like, you can't get a job being an anthropologist. And, so there's a lot more pressure on the one son that was one of our narrators, to be a certain way, but he still becomes an anthropologist. And it's so again, I haven't read a lot. Like I said, I mean, in fact, like was almost done with this chapter, but then I couldn't read it because there was like too much. So after I'm done filming, I might get a little more reading done. Like I might sit outside and do a little reading, but I'm still tired, so I'm still having trouble concentrating. And I keep thinking about this book I want to order, but I have to wait. I can't order it right now because I'm gonna order it on Amazon. And but in my defense, I don't shop. I don't buy books on Amazon. I don't buy on Amazon that often because I mean I haven't even bought. Yes, I have a Kindle, but I haven't bought anything on Kindle in a while because I'm trying to finish my current. But it's I use when I buy stuff on Amazon. I just go ahead and I use my mom's account because I haven't made an Amazon account. Because like I said, when I'm buying in most cases I buy all thrift books when I buy books online on a rare, but on occasion, like either if I'm buying an ebook on my Kindle or certain the holiday season, I will buy on Amazon. But like I said, most of the time, when I buy for myself, I'll just go straight to thrift books. But the book I want to get is a little bit cheaper on Amazon, and my mom has stuff on the cart that she's looking at that she's debating, so I gotta wait. And I don't want to pressure her, I don't want to bug her about it because, it's not crucial that I get this book. And I don't want to annoy her because, like I said, it's her account. And, and she's kind of distracted. Like, got a lot of stuff going on because, family and, my sister's visiting. And then they have a dog, so she's going to watch the dog and their dog as well as our own. And this dog is a little bit younger than our dog. So he has a bit more energy. But anyway. So I keep holding this book up, but I'm not talking about this book at the moment. But yeah, so that's what I'm currently reading. At some point I want to get to The Tempest, but I also want to get to Animal Dreams. And I mean, there's always, all of a sudden, and of course, like I said, I'm right now inspired to reread a certain book. So the books I recently purchased, so Books A Million had a buy one, there was a table of books, you could buy one and get 50% off of another book. And luckily there were 2 books on there that I kept looking at every time I went to Books A Million, but I was like, no, I don't, But the first one is Hooked by Asako Yuzuki. This is a book, and actually I was kind of reminded that I wanted to get this, that I was interested in this book by another booktuber whose name escapes me at the moment. As you can see, how tired I am. Normally, I would remember this person's name and I could picture them in my head. They did I don't know if it was a book haul or a reading vlog. Actually, I think it was a book haul because I don't do they're right now, they can't really, I don't think she can really do reading vlogs at the moment because she has a kid. She's as a baby, so she can't really film reading vlogs. So I think it was so I'm pretty sure it was a book haul where she mentioned this book, where she talked about this book. It's called Hooked. And the author also wrote, I don't know if you guys remember hearing about the book Butter. That was I think that one involved food. But this one is about obsession. A friendship obsession. Where this woman, she kind of has an okay life. It's good. It's a good life. But she's kind of bored. And she ends up getting obsessed with this one woman who has like a perfect life that she wants. And she becomes friends with this woman. And I obviously haven't picked it up yet, but it sounded really, this stories about friendship, obsessive friends kind of interest me. And yes, I know I should, see My Brilliant Friend and everything, and I haven't gotten around to it. I keep seeing it at the used bookshop, The Outpost, and I think about, I've seen that one there, and I've also seen its sequel. And currently My Brilliant Friend is not there. It's one of its sequels is there. And I keep thinking about it, and maybe I'll buy it at some point. I don't know. But I know it is about friendship, and I know I just said I like books about friendship. I want to read more books about friendship, so I will eventually I'll get to that one at some point. But anyway, this is the current one that I'm interested in. But anyway, so I'm excited to read this, and I like that it's a fish on the cover, because when you go fishing you use a hook to catch fish. So I really like the cover. And it's translated, which is good. I'm trying to read more translated fiction from other countries that's not originally written in English. And it's not like, no, I don't mean as in, I gotta check off that book. It's just I really am interested in books from other cultures. Especially Asian cultures. Okay, and then the book I decided to get, the other book I decided to get that was 50% off. That would be 15% off. 15% off is Encore, which this one is another contemporary story. These are both contemporary stories. This one takes place at a conservatory. It starts with, in the past, we had these two people that were good friends, and then something happened between them, and they reunited several years later. Let's see, 20 years later. The one who gave her up at birth. Okay, so we have, they're reunited via this 16-year-old girl, this pianist who's a virtuoso, Lonnie Thomas, who was given up at birth, which I'm guessing that one of the friends was the mom, was the parent of this child. And that's probably why we're being taught about this person in the modern, So I did look at I do. I'm just trying not to just read the back of these books and just tell you about, trying to remember what I read in the back description. But I'm excited to read these. I'm very interested. Okay, so I did have a copy of this book, but it was a cloth bound, and it was a cloth bound, and I don't even know if it's the same translation. And it's one of these things where I don't want to have multiple, I try not to have too many copies. I try not to have more than one copy of a book. And, my mom has said I shouldn't get rid of the cloth bound because they're really nice. But it does take up space. And, I'm, the cloth bound books are nice and everything. They have their own bookmark, but they also, they're hardback books, so they're hard to read, and I can't take them any places. And then, I remember, Marie, Caroline Marie, when she was doing a bookshelf tour, and she was talking about the cloth bounds, and that she has paperback copies, but she also has cloth bound copies of her book, of a lot of books, because, of course, and was talking about the cons of cloth bounds is they eventually fade over time, and they're more for aesthetic reasons. And I was kind of like, no, I bought the cloth bound, so I'm gonna read these. And it's hard to read them, I mean, and I already, worry about having arthritis, because sometimes when I read them, holding the books end up in between my fingers, and then eventually my fingers start to hurt, and I feel like, okay, I got to stretch out my fingers so I don't have arthritis in the future, which I don't know if that will ever happen. And I don't know if that can potentially cause arthritis, but I mean, even with paperback books, it can, your fingers, the way you hold a book can still cause problems. But anyway, and, I feel guilty, so what I did was, I offered to get my sister a copy of this book, the cloth-bound version, and I would buy another version of it for myself, and give her that one. And that book is the Odyssey. and I've been meaning to reread this. And this is the Robert Fagel's translation. So, and the book I was hoping to get was a copy of the Iliad in this version. And then I am now thinking about, oh, maybe I should get the Aeneid in this version as well, in this translation as well. So, in with this look to it. But then I'm like, I feel guilty because it's kind of shallow reasons. Like, my copies of both the Aeneid and the Iliad are, they're still perfectly good copies, and they're both paperback and they're easy, so they're not, But then I kind of want for shallow reasons, I kind of want them to match and to be the same translator for all of them, because they're like a trilogy. They go together. Except although like the Aeneid is written by Virgil and not Homer, but they still kind of go. People associate them together, and they're the same. And I know with translators, it doesn't matter as long as you want to get the translator that works for you. But now I got this copy of the Odyssey. And of course, the reason why, I bought the Odyssey, this new copy of the Odyssey, is because my sister volunteered that we go see the movie together. Something for us to do. So, the kids would go see their movie, a kids movie, which is the latest Minions movie. And my sister and brother-in-law did not want to see that movie. And neither did I. I mean, I didn't know what movie they were going to see, but I wasn't interested. So, but I really wanted to see the Odyssey. And funny enough, they both admitted that they weren't interested in seeing the Odyssey themselves, but I guess they changed their mind and were heard how great it was. So, and I know people have criticisms, some people enjoy it, and then there are people that are that Nolan did something wrong, that the movie was not a good adaptation, and something, Nolan's problem. And I haven't watched this video, so I don't know exactly where it went wrong, but I still thought it was a good movie. It is modernized, it is a bit modernized, and is, but I couldn't tell you, it's been so long since I read the Odyssey, that I couldn't tell you where he might have gone wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but where fans of the Odyssey might not be happy. What aspects of it they might not. Although my sister had recently read a kid's version with her son, and there is stuff that they let out that they couldn't include. And there are things, where the encounter with the sirens is you don't even see the sirens in the movie. You see them from a distance. But I was really happy. But I enjoyed the movie. And they did too, of course. They had their critiques, but mostly they enjoyed the movie. And I was very happy with the Cyclops scene. And with the scene with Cersei, that's a nightmare. That scene with Cersei is nightmare fuel. What she does in that, the whole transforming them into pigs is the way they do that scene is it's a lot. It's very graphic, and it was a lot, but it was really good. It was very good, and it's definitely memorable. If you I knew, of course, it happens in the book, but I didn't remember it being that detailed, that graphic. But now I have been meaning to reread it anyway, so now I want to pick it up and reread it right now. And I think it's really good it's a good summary, because it is an adventure story, and it is a seafaring story. And to me, seafaring stories are very summer reads, because often, at least in this part of the world, because during the summer, you go to the pool, or you go to the beach, you go to someplace, you go to visit another country, and you're on vacation, and, I associate, adventure stories for the summer. Except for not every adventure story is necessarily a summer read, because there are some epic fantasy stories that are very much, I feel like they're more autumnal. But, ooh, the sun's coming out. This will be good because, for my nephews, for the camp that they're doing. But, adventure, especially seafaring adventure stories, I associate them for summertime. So I feel like this is a summer read. But yeah, to me, it's like, I feel like I should, all my translators, my copies of these books that are translated, they should match. I should try to get the matching ones, especially if the story, if they see that, if the story is like considered, a trilogy, and I think people do consider the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid as a trilogy. Like, they all involve the whole Trojan War story and the aftermath of that. But anyway, I'm excited to reread this, and I really want to now. I want to reread it now, just like how I talked about Lord of the Rings when I did my favorites video of the second part of the year, the second quarter. Now, when I talked about the book now, and I wanted to reread that book, and now I want to reread this one. But anyway, so like I said, that's what I want to get. But I'm trying not to push it. Because like I said, it's my mom's account, and she's there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to push it, but I kind of want to get it. I really want to get it. So that's the other, so yeah, it's not a lot of books to show you guys, but I just wanted to give you guys an update video. I'm going to try to get a little more reading in today, but, of course right now, something just came on me as I'm filming this video where I'm, like, feeling, like, shaky and, like, I need to, eat something for lunch. And unfortunately, it's only 11:10, so I'll probably just get a quick little snack. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Your summer's going well this year. If so far this season, it is almost, this is the last month of summer, and then September comes around, and it's the school year starts for people, and autumnal, the autumnal season is going to start. So anyway, yeah, which is funny, the summer went by really fast. That's weird, because last year it seemed to go by so slow, like take so long. I mean, of course, when October comes around and it's still hot, it's gonna be a pain. And it's like, where I live, it's still hot in October, or at least warm. It's not hot, but it is still warm in October, and I can't wear like sweaters, which is really disappointing. Like, autumn and spring are really short in the state where I live, which is really annoying. Because those are my two favorite seasons. But anyway, I hope your reading is going well. Have you seen the new Nolan's movie yet? Like, I think it was really great. I know a lot of people, like, there are people that will say the casting is just to get butts in the seats, and yeah, there's a modernist to the language and stuff, but I think I agree with that the casting, those people that I like the casting. I think they did a really good job, and yeah, these people may be known names, very famous names, but they acted their butts off. I think, I really got into it. Matt Damon did an amazing job, with the part of Odysseus. You really saw, got his feelings, and I think Matt Damon, despite the fact that he's people know who he is. Like, I've been watching a lot of videos lately that are talking about actors that don't have range and the ones that do. And I was watching a video that talked about that there are actors that you just know them by their names. Like, they always play almost the same character every time. That's what you know what you're gonna get with these actors. And even though, yeah, Matt Damon is a known name, I don't think he's one of those actors that he always does the same thing. I don't think he does. I think he always surprises people and does an amazing job. I mean, he acts his ass off, I think. And, I loved Anne Hathaway as, and then, but I thought Robert Pattinson does a great job. I mean, he's really doing a good job with his career, crafting his career, so he's not stuck playing the same role. And, you know, I also like Tom Holland did a good job, and you know, I agree with the music. I thought the music was really cool. You know, it was like the sound design, and as one person I watched described it as soundscape, said it was a soundscape music design. That was I liked that. Like I said, there were lots of very memorable scenes. And yeah, I know that they're trying to, you know, there was a bit some casting decisions that people that were a little controversial. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, those actors did a, you know, good job with their performances. And you know, I'm also not a classicist, so I'm not reading these books constantly. I want to read them, so I'm not one of those people who's going to be overly critical at adaptations for classics. And you know, so I'm just an average viewer who really enjoyed the movie. That was a really good adaptation, and you know, it definitely inspired me to reread the Odyssey. And it was, you know, and I think it really did a good job at making the story memorable. And hopefully more people that have not, you know, haven't read the Odyssey in a long time or have never read the Odyssey, hopefully this movie, I feel like this movie could potentially inspire you to read the Odyssey, to pick it up. But anyway. So that's all I gotta say. That's my update for you guys. And I hope your reign is going well. Have you, like I said, you know, have you read the Odyssey or seen the movie, the new movie? I would love to know. And I hope you are enjoying your summer and you're reading some good books. All right, bye.